Niev here, and today we are doing the last of the walkthrough of the cards. We are doing the Queens and the Kings for this deep dive of the Pacific Northwest Tarot. And today I have my bag. I like to show it off every time, but I made this bag for this deck. And here we go. So inside we have our deck here, and I believe I have put the cards we're dealing with today on top. Here's the handy dandy book we will be going through. Let's see, am I right? Queens, yes, okay. So we've got the Queen of Wands here. Love this card. Very, very cool. I wish I kind of put it in my favorites when I did the 3 piles, because I don't think I did, but I actually really like this card a lot. So if I did that exercise again, I would probably put this in my favorites. Queen of Cups. I think that's a great representation for the Queen of Cups. Queen of Swords. And the Queen of Pentacles. All right, and then we have the Kings. The King of Wands. I like this King of Wands. The King of Cups. The King of Swords. And the King of Pentacles. One of my favorite cards in this deck. All right, so we are going to get to these kings out of the way for right now, because we are going to go through the queens here. All right, so queens, queenly energy. So with the kings, which we're going to get to in a second, but the kings, we kind of get that energy of leadership and stability, right? That provider sort of energy, and I'm really trying not to genderize this, but it is a bit difficult, because we want to, queens and kings, in our minds we associate that with female and male, and then the associations with the queens and kings are those stereotypical things that we kind of the attributes we kind of genderize, like the nurturingness of the female qualities of things, whereas the kings are more, I guess, aggressive, or the providers, or something like that. There's more of a initiative with the kings versus the queens, and I don't like to think of it too genderized like that, because there's aspects of these within all of us, whether that's queens or kings. And I think there's strong leadership qualities with the queens, just like the kings, but it's kind of a different type of energy, a different type of leadership. With the kings, I almost feel like I should do these together, like queens and kings together, and I might just go ahead and do that. I'll have to put these cards back out here, and we'll go through these together, because I'm kind of comparing the two, so it's just going to make more sense to have them all out right now for this one, and just kind of talk about the differences between the queens and the kings. With the queens, we get that nurturing element, sure. Less so with the swords. I would say the Queen of Swords is the least nurturing of these queens. Whereas with and it's like the leadership with a sustenance, and there's a sort of sly sort of leadership with the queens, whereas the kings are more overt. They're more direct, more overt. There's more control with the kings, whereas with the queens there is a level of control, but it's kind of under the surface, if that makes sense. There's a sustenance and a stability. There's substance and stability, a subtleness and an overtness, if that makes sense. So I think both the queens and the kings have a level of leadership, but it's kind of how that leadership is presenting itself, which is how we're seeing the difference between the two. Both have matured. There's a maturity level to this. Yes, so with the queens specifically, like I said, the Queen of Cups is the most nurturing of them. The Queen of Pentacles is the most, I want to say motherly, but again, I'm trying not to be too genderized with this, but if I had to pick the mothers and the fathers, the Queen of Pentacles would be the mother, and the King of Pentacles would be the father. And it most embodies those stereotypically motherly energies, most typically embodies the fatherly energies. So those are the ones that I would say embody that dichotomy the most. The Pentacles suit for sure. The Queen of Pentacles is very and both the King and Queen of Pentacles are both very practical. And there's less of a spirituality for with them, and more of a thinking about the everyday life and thinking about the practicalness of it all. It's a domesticity sort of energy, whereas the Queen of Cups is a lot more open with the feelings, and which makes sense with cups, because that is the most emotional suit in the deck. So the Queen of Cups is very nurturing, maybe not, definitely not as practical as the Pentacles, but very, very nurturing, and could be even coddling. We could see that as a somewhat negative, or taken to an extreme or something. We could see the Queen of Cups being a bit too much of a coddler. Coddler. I think it sounds like I'm saying cobbler, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so that's like the differences that I would see between the Queen of Cups versus the Queen of Pentacles. Both of them, I feel like, could possibly, if we're talking purely a motherly energy or a parental energy here, both of these cards could, if taken to an extreme, lend itself to helicopter parenting or something like that. You know, if we're talking about it as a parent. Yeah, because I think the Queen of Cups could, if the attributes are taken to extreme, be someone who coddles too much, or is too paying too closely attention to the emotions, whereas the Queen of Pentacles is a lot more practical and might be a bit more micromanaging, micromanaging the lives of their child or something like that. You know what I mean? And again, I'm just looking at this as when we're looking at these as parents. So the Queen of Wands, of course, a fiery energy. I would say leadership-wise, the Queen and King of Wands are the for sure leaders of these cards here. The Queen of Wands is the leader of the Queens, and the King of Wands is the leader of the Kings. So yeah, these two embody that leadership energy the most, for sure. And I'm going to go ahead and start reading the book. Well, actually, real quick, before I do that, I wanted to touch on the swords here. As far as if we're thinking about these as mothers, you know, the Queen of Wands would be the most fiery, probably, maybe the most extroverted. Though extroverted is not quite the right word, because there's definitely people who have that Queen of Wands energy about them, but they're introverted. So it's maybe they express they're more open to expressing their opinions. They're more open to speak up, that sort of energy. So that's that. The leader of the Queens. This is the most nurturing, the most emotional of the Queens. This is the mother, or the parental figure here, that is the most sassy. Or what I mean is, like, the most sarcastic, or and not even sarcastic. There's elements of the Queen of Swords that I very much see myself as. They've got the sharp tongue, but then at the same time, there's elements of the Queen of Swords that I don't see myself as. And I see the Queen of Swords tend to be the most judgmental. And you know what? The Queen of Swords, if I'm really thinking about it, is really exemplified by Dorothy from the Golden Girls. For sure. So, yeah, Dorothy from the Golden Girls, for sure. Or even Sophia a little bit. Though Sophia, I feel like both of them can be a bit of both of these. A bit the Queen of Swords, a bit the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah. But, yeah, so, but the image in my head was Dorothy or B. Arthur from the Golden Girls for the Queen of Swords. Someone who is very, both of these cards are very practical people, but the Queen of Swords is very sharp tongue, doesn't quite have a filter, but which could be a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a bit more judgmental. And then the Queen of Pentacles is someone who is definitely the most practical of the bunch here, but also the most, maybe the most micromanagey, if that makes sense. All right, so now let's read the cards. Okay, so with the Queen of Wands, and this animal is just the cat. There's nothing else to it. Yeah. So just, it's a cat, but gosh, I love this imagery, and especially with the fact that the cat has heterochromia. It's just really cool. All right, so action tempered by insight. So yes, the Queen of Wands is very action-oriented, definitely puts her money where her mouth is, and is doing what she said she was going to do. But there's a level of maturity with it. You know, it's more mature than the Knight for sure, because the Knight, it can be a lot, Knight energy is a lot more impulsive, where this has been tempered, but tempered by insight. So connection to one's true self, vivacity and intuition, confidence, vanity, haughtiness, a witch. Yes, for sure. That witchy energy of the Knight of Wands, for sure. That's definitely the witchiest of the of the ladies here. And again, I say ladies loosely, only because we're saying queen and king. But you know, I don't know. I try not to get too gendered with things, but you know, there is a level of that here. If anything, a societal view of gender. You know, but anyway, so the Queen of Cups is the orca, and I also find it interesting that they have the orca representing the cups, because the cups is a very emotional energy, very into the emotions, and orcas are definitely motherly beings, but they're also very aggressive. They're very aggressive. Like if I used to watch, and I still do, but like a lot of times when I went to sleep, I would watch a lot of nature shows, like David Attenborough type of stuff, and I always remember this scene of these orcas just, you know, really murdering a a seal, or yeah, it's a seal, I think is what it was, and it was just like, it was gruesome. And orcas are, you know, there's a reason they're called killer whales. So this is a supportive counselor, yeah, for sure. Explorer of the subconscious, intuition, emotional maturity. She's definitely the most spiritual of the queens here. Emotional maturity and wisdom. There is a level of wisdom here. And there's a lot of emotional intelligence with the Queen of Cups, for sure. A lot of EQ. Compassion, kindness, sympathy. So, yeah. And, but I think there's a darkness to this as well. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, because anger is an emotion too. And I think that's perfectly shown here with the orca representing the Queen of Cups. All right, so the Queen of Swords. So, Queen. So this is a snowy white owl. So wisdom shaped by positive and negative experiences. And also, I wanted to note that all of these queens have a level of wisdom to it, or intelligence. Like, there's where the kings really exemplify that leadership energy, the queens are definitely exemplifying that intelligence energy, for sure. So wisdom shaped by positive and negative experiences, justice, balance, fairness, perceptive and independent, a guide. Yeah, so very strong Libra energy there, which is another reason why the Queen of Swords is often you know, associated with Libra Libras or Libra women or people who identify as women. Yeah, but I'm saying that because my son is in Libra. My son is in Libra, and so sun sign Libra. So that's it does kind of give that feeling. I also get, like, even though this isn't an air sign, I kind of get a Taurus energy from the Queen of Swords. And maybe that's because the descriptions of the Queen of Swords often make me think of my mom, who is a Taurus. And I think a lot of the descriptions of the Queen of Swords really make me think of her, if that makes sense. Less so the judgmental part, but more the sharp tongue sort of energy there. Yeah, so, and it makes sense that the Queen of Swords would be represented by an owl. All right, and finally, the Queen of Pentacles. We're getting there. All right, so this is the North American beaver, and this is generous and nurturing caretaker, parent and provider, cultivator, safety and stability, and pragmatism. Yeah, so very pragmatic. And in a lot of ways, it's funny because I can see myself when we're talking about the queens, and it partially because I am a woman and a mother and things like blah, blah, blah. But I can see myself in 3 out of the 4 queens. I think there's elements of all of them in me, of course, but I most see myself in these ones. And I don't really see a lot of myself in the Queen of Cups. But I would think, I think of myself very much, Pentacles is my favorite suit. I think even though I'm a Libra myself, I'm an air sign, I think I connect more with that energy of the Pentacles. But I also see a lot of myself with the Queen of Wands here. So I kind of see myself in all 3 of these cards. Not so much the Queen of Cups, or Queen of Cups, though. Anyway, so now let's do the Kings. All right, so King of Wands. So this is a gray wolf. Leadership, vision, control. Yep, control, leadership. That's a keyword I would use for all 4 of the Kings. Decisiveness. Yes, execution, competence, and charisma. I see my husband as the King of Wands for sure. And all these words definitely describe him. He's very competent. He is charismatic, I would say. He's a very decisive person. And he is absolutely a leader and in control of things. I associate my husband a lot with the King of Wands. And I also associate him a lot with wolf energy. So in general, I'm very connected to this card, and maybe one of the many reasons why I like this. It really does make me think of my husband. All right, the King of Cups. And of course, these cards, queens could represent someone who identifies as male. Kings can represent someone who identifies as female. It's not gender. It is and it isn't, if that makes sense. It is, but it isn't. All right, so King of Cups, the leatherback sea turtle. And again, this is the card that I ever so slightly bent. I'm not sure if the camera can see it, but there's a little, and I think it's mostly gone away now from use over time, but I can still slightly feel where I bent the card. All right, so the King of Cups, caretaker. That was also a keyword for the Queen of Pentacles there. Wise advisor. So the Queen of Cups is a counselor, and there's a level of wisdom. But the King of Cups is a bit more of an advisor. The Queen, nurtures and cares for and listens, whereas the King offers advice. He's an advisor, if that makes sense. That's the slight difference between the King and Queen of Cups there. So diplomacy, that's a good one for the King of Cups. Devotion, that's a really good one. So I would say the Queen of Cups is a bit more spiritual, where the King of Cups might be a bit more, I don't want to say religious, but a bit more religious, if that makes sense. Like devotion, a bit more devotional. This is kind of a spiritual connection energy, whereas this is a devoted energy. Generosity, control and balance over emotions. Control and balance over emotions. And each of these are a control and balance over their realm. So yeah, and I really like the leatherback sea turtle representing the King of Cups, because they're so old, and I can definitely see the connection there. There's this wisdom with age feeling with that King of Cups. All right, and now the King of Swords. All right, so this is the Great Blue Heron, authority born of rational thought. Yeah, the King of Swords is definitely the most rational and clear thinking of all the kings. There's a rationality to the King of Swords here. Clarity of mind and purpose, insight. I kind of think of the King of Swords like Vulcans, you know, from Star Trek. Again, my Trekkie references. The same in the last video. I think I also did a Trekkie reference there. So yeah, I think of the King of Swords as embodying that Vulcan energy. Insight, seriousness, and strictness. Yes, strictness with the King of Swords. Exacting standards and truth. So a bit more of that perfectionist energy, for sure. And this is represented by that Great Blue Heron. I think I'll have to read what it says about this and maybe look into herons, because this on its own, I mean, I definitely get a regalness to this bird here, and it seems very in charge and in control. But that's as far as the imagery takes me with understanding this association with the King of Swords. All right, and finally we have the King of Pentacles, and this is the Olympic Elk. So, and I love this card. It's so majestic. You know, it's my second favorite card in the entire deck, behind the Sun card, because I feel like it's radiating with energy. It feels strong and majestic, and I think it really does a good job exemplifying the King of Pentacles. And of these, I would say the King of Pentacles, of which one of the kings I most identify with, it would be the King of Pentacles, without doubt. With the queens, I could see myself in 3 out of 4 of them, but with the kings, definitely the King of Pentacles. So, status, monetary success, authority over the home, luxury and abundance, discipline over resources. Yeah, so, yeah, I would say the King of Pentacles is the most disciplined, and maybe that's where I don't connect with. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. That's gonna be some self-reflection there. But like, I get just more of a the King of Pentacles for me is an energy. This person knows who they are. They know what they like. They know who they are. There's a practicalness, just like with the Queen of Pentacles, and a pragmaticness, if that's even a word. But yeah, so I think the 2 suits that I feel most connected to with it would probably be Wands and Pentacles. Even though I'm a Libra, so technically I would, you know, connect with the Queen of Swords here. I see myself mostly in the Queens of Pentacles. And then with the Kings, probably the King of Pentacles. Yeah. All right. So anyway, so let's put these all together and let's do some very quick reading, one reading per card, sample reading. Here we go. Okay, I've shuffled these cards. I'm going to do a couple more quick overhand shuffles here. And all right, so the Queen of Wands. We have strength with the Queen of Wands. I like that. That's a lot of strong energy there. And the 9 of Swords. I would say, you know, this is just initial gut feeling here, I would say that this person has been showing a lot of strength, and maybe it's time for them to rest. It's time for them to not be so strong anymore, and to just to let go of some issues, and to not be everyone's shoulder to cry on, or, well, not so much that. It's like, because that's more Queen of Cups energy, but like being putting on the strong face for everyone all the time. And that's how I would see this. This is someone who has appeared strong, and they are strong, but sometimes we've got to just sort of let go and give into that. It's causing an anxiety, and that's the Nine of Swords for sure, an anxiety energy. So, I mean, there's no actual advice here. It's just saying what's going on. Like, there's the show of strength, and maybe too much of it, that is causing a level of anxiety. So if there was an advice part, it would probably be to rest. Maybe the Four of Swords would be the advice there. There we go. So now we have the Queen of Cups. We have, Six of Cups, one of my favorite cards in this deck. Six of Cups with the Queen of Cups. Wow, that's definitely looking for mom or motherly type energy. And then the Three of Cups. So I think, and I'm just leaning into this mother energy here, wanting to spend time with your mom, wanting, or your mother type energy, your the person who has fulfilled that role for you in your life, wanting to reconnect and celebrate and hang out, and it kind of makes me think of when my mom and I hang out. I would say neither one of us are the Queen of Cups kind of energy, but both of us are very, let's say, not very sentimental, but but we do enjoy each other's company and like to hang out with each other and talk about things. We like to talk for hours. When my mom calls me, I've got to set aside a good 6 hours of my day. I gotta stop doing whatever it is I'm doing, and my day now is talking with my mom. Which is a good thing. Sometimes it drives my husband nuts, but depending on the circumstances. But when my mom calls, it's an all day thing, and we definitely this just makes me think of it. Regressing to that childhood, that nostalgia feeling, that motherly, nurturing, supportive, or this doesn't necessarily have to be your mom. It could be a childhood friend, but it's something from your past. It's someone from your past that you have a close connection with, and you can really enjoy time with, have some drinks together. That is the Three of Cups, just enjoying spending time with family and friends, things like that. So very positive reading. Definitely makes me think of my phone call conversations with my mom. All right, the Queen of Swords. This is a card that actually makes me think of my mom, though. All right, so the Seven of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, and the Eight of Swords. Whew. Okay, so I would see this as someone who has put in a lot of the hard work and diligently done their part, and is seeing the fruits of their labor there, and is has learned. I keep going back to the book here, and the right here, the wisdom shaped by positive and negative experiences, and the Queen of Swords has sort of, her view of this has really been shaped by the progress that has been going on, and because of that, and the knowledge that she's gained from this, she doesn't want to disrupt this. It almost makes me think of like when I'm doing a painting, because I'm an artist, and kind of that seeing, you know, that my painting has gone through its ugly phase, and I've touched it up quite a bit, and I've done the details, and now the image is really coming together. But if we keep messing with it, it could really mess it up, you know. So there's a point where you have to stop messing with it. You know what I mean? And I think this is what I'm getting with this reading. Not wanting to move forward from it and keeping it like this. Because you don't want to mess with it too much. But at the same time, you know, there might be a good thing in taking that risk and nudging it and making it a little better. You know, there's that. But the experience of the Queen of Swords here is saying, don't mess with this. Go ahead and keep it the way it is. I don't know. That's one of many ways you could read this reading, and again, I have no context for this, so it's just sort of making up a situation here, and it made me think of when I do artwork and getting to a point where, you know, you don't want to mess with it anymore because it's where it needs to be, and you know this through experience. So now we are on the Queen of Pentacles, and my middle daughter just came home from school, so we're not going to have too many interruptions here. Okay, sorry about that. So with the Queen of Pentacles, we have the Seven of Swords, so a sort of a stealthiness here. You know, it kind of makes me think of that when I was going over the queens, and I was saying that both the queens and kings kind of have that level of control. However, the queens are a bit more subtle about it, whereas the kings are a bit more overt. And here, we're kind of seeing that subtleness, a cleverness, not even thievery, but it depends on what the last card is here. We gotta see here. So, Wheel of Fortune. Okay. Gosh, I always have trouble sometimes with cards like the Wheel of Fortune or the Moon sometimes. Yeah, those cards that are sometimes a bit more vague. But yes, all right. So I'm thinking maybe this is more of we're putting something in motion that came from a very strategic place, and I'm seeing the more strategy meaning with the Seven of Swords here instead of the trickery or deceit, something like that. There's a cleverness going on, that, and a pragmatic implementation of that, and that really sets in motion a sequence of events. Yeah, for this particular reading, it's a bit tough because I feel like we're missing information. Yeah, but just these three cards, I would say that there's a clever implementation of something that puts something in a series of events, and it's starting something. It's starting a cycle, or possibly repeating a cycle, but it's we're being smart about something, very clever, maybe even deceitful, but it's something that it's a very pragmatic sort of approach, and it's based less on emotions and more of what's going to get this ball rolling, what's going to get things set into motion. So maybe there's trickery or deceit going on, but it's done because I feel like the Pentacles are the suits that sort of they see the potential in things, and so there's a pragmatic approach to this, and maybe utilizing some trickery or deceit, or it's just general strategy, being very strategic and pragmatic, and that's what's setting things into motion. All right, so a bit of a tough one. I would say that was a tough combination of cards for me. Yeah. All right, so we've got the King of Wands here. We're on the Kings. The Knight of Cups. Okay. Huh. These could be two different people here, or a progression of a situation. We could see this as a wise person sort of advising a younger person who is maybe more impulsive. And then we get that wise attitude of, or the leadership guiding attitude of a King of Wands there. But it's really dependent on this next card here, the Emperor. So these two cards, I feel like it's advising this Knight of Cups here. This Knight of Cups just wants to act on his emotions, very romantic or romanticized, and we get these two very strong energies here. The Knight of Wands and the Emperor. These are some strong. I keep saying strong, but there's some strong leadership here, and I think the message here would be for this Knight of Cups to pay attention to this more practical advice, or pay attention to some wise words from his elders. That doesn't necessarily have to be his elders, but some wise words are being spoken here to kind of temper this impulsive, acting purely on emotions sort of energy here. So yeah, that's what I would see with this. So we're at the King of Cups. We've got the Ten of Swords. Wow, have we hit rock bottom here? And then that King of Cups is there as a wise advisor. And then the Fool. So I feel like the King of Cups here is sort of being a wise advisor or counselor to someone who has gone through a very, very difficult time. And I feel like there's this feeling of wanting to just jump right into something else, or to, like, if we're thinking about like a relationship here, and let's say the relationship has ended, or something horrible has happened, the relationship has ended, and we've got some wise advice or wise counsel, or we've looked to a guidance or something like that, and we've sort of gone the extreme here, and we're wanting to jump right back into the dating scene, or jump right back into the pool and the dating pool. And there's a huge risk in that, because there's that rebound energy here. So I almost feel like whoever's gone through this difficult time has listened to this King of Cups advice, but maybe has taken it a little too to heart, and is wanting to just jump into something before they're ready, if that makes sense. That's what I get from this. So, all right, the King of Swords. We have the Ace of Cups. I'm gonna say, I'm thinking that this Ace of Cups might be, now that I've done pretty much all the cards here, I feel like this is my new least favorite card in the deck. I don't know. I don't know. There's something about this card that I don't love. I like it. I mean, the artwork is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but in comparison with all the other cards, there's just something about this Ace of Cups that I'm just not connecting with. All right. Oh my gosh. And then I get my favorite card, the Sun. Oh gosh, this is my all-time favorite card in this deck. And every time I see it, I'm like, my breath is taken away by the beauty of this card. Okay, so all right, we've gotten our the sense knocked into us, and then like there's an outpouring of emotion here, and yes, an outpouring of emotion that I feel like the King of Swords has knocked some sense into us and said, hey, buck up, which isn't always the best advice. But in this instance, with ending with the Sun and ending with this illumination, this, gosh, what is the word I'm trying to think of? Enlightenment? I think that's it. Like this enlightened, this epiphany, with this epiphany. I think that's what's happening here. I think an emotional thing is going on, not necessarily bad, but there's an outpouring of emotions, and then we get this, the sense knocked into us kind of energy here with the King of Swords, and that is leading to an epiphany and a, because sometimes those kinds of words are just not the right thing to say to someone. You gotta know time and place, and I think with this reading, this was definitely the time and place, because sometimes we do need to be smacked upside the head. Sometimes we get into our head, sometimes we get too emotional about stuff, and and that's fine, but sometimes we just need to have the sense knocked into us, and that is the King of Swords energy, and that leads to a better understanding and the clouds parting, and I think this is the sense knocked into us sort of energy that's leading to my favorite card, which is so funny because I was just saying that I think this Ace of Swords is my least favorite card in this deck, and then I pull my favorite card. So, all right, and now we have the King of Pentacles, the Ten of I almost said Swords, the Ten of Wands. So a lot of burdens being placed onto us, but we're strong and we can handle it, because these are two different animals here, but I feel like there's definitely a connection here. It's feeling overburdened, but like really bucking up here, and literally a buck, but bucking up here, and and then the Page of Swords. Oh, interesting. So maybe, and this just came into my head here, maybe this is saying to delegate, because this King of Swords has a lot of things placed on him right now, and yes, he can handle it. The King of Swords Pentacles. Was I saying Swords? The King of Pentacles can handle this pressure that's being put on him, and handle all these responsibilities. But I think the wise choice is to pass off some of these responsibilities to someone else, and that is the Page of Swords here. Someone who is quite eager to help. The Page of Swords here is eager to help. I that's pretty straightforward to me. I mean, again, this is without any context. I could have a different interpretation of this depending on the context, but I would say that this is a person who's being overburdened by stuff, and they can definitely handle it. This is a person who can handle this, but we've got someone here eager to help. Why not share the load? All right, so thank you so much for watching. We have done all of the cards, and I'm going to place this on top because it's my favorite card. All right, we've done all the cards, and so next up, after I've done all the cards is, and I time this because I'm doing this every day. I'm just posting these twice a week, but so by the time this episode is up, I will have probably been completely done with my deep dive, but I time this. I start it on the new moon, and I do 2 weeks of just going through each card, of doing this deep dive of each card, of the meanings of how I'm interpreting it versus how the book interprets it, etc., and really looking into the imagery and doing these little sample readings. And 2 weeks after the new moon is the full moon, and on the full moon is when I am going to do a blessing and a full moon ritual. I'm still not sure if I'm going to film it or not. I may. So this full moon will be in January, but by the time this goes up, it's going to be later. But so it's the full moon in January that I'm doing to bless this deck, and really, there we go. And after this, after the full moon ritual that I'm going to do, the blessing, I'm going to start getting into like the deck interview and some sample readings and combining it with other decks, and there we go. So that's the plan. All right, I will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.